Yay, I'm actually starting on time this week. Awesome. We will start at the 10 o'clock hour. How's that? Okay. Oh, don't fucking crap out on me, you bastard. Ah, there we go. Okay, let's get this show rolling. It's always nice when I can look forward to doing this every week by having good shows to talk about. That's the case this week because Agent Carter, Flash, Arrow, all really good. Was not the case all around, though. You guys, if you've watched us before, you know the drill. If the stream craps out, just bear with me. I'll try to get it back up as soon as I can. No dinner tonight. I actually ate before we started, so I just have some saltines here and my usual fruit smoothie. And I believe that's it. One of these days I'll come up with a good intro for this show. But if you have questions or comments, leave them down there in the comments section. I'll try to get to all of them. And that's it. Let's get started. As usual, we'll go with Constantine first. Constantine, episode 13. Excuse me. Waiting for the Man. Jim Corrigan calls John back to New Orleans to help with the case of a missing girl who has been coerced into marrying a psychopathic, murdering, child-molesting, Satan-worshipping polygamist. How's that for an evil bad guy? Also, Papa Midnight tries to collect a bounty on John's head that everyone is apparently aware of, even though it seemed to come right the fuck out of nowhere unless I'm missing something. This was the season finale of Constantine, and for the most part, I think it's a good example of why it was also most likely the series finale of Constantine. It's a standalone plot that services... Are you kidding me? Fuck it. Fuck it, they'll hang up. It's a standalone plot that advances very little in terms of the narrative, and the Rising Darkness angle is barely addressed. At least until the last scene, when something finally happens. And as it is, it was too little too late to make a damn bit of difference. I cared very little for the main story here. This guy who is evil just because the episode needed a villain takes this little girl so he can marry her. And oh my god, I hated this kid. She apparently has run away from her mother, gets approached at night in the middle of nowhere by these three strangers she's never met before. These creepy as fuck underage girls. Underage is an important word to remember in this episode. Who say that they're all married to this one guy who has branded them on their necks. Because that's not creepy at all. They ask the girl if she wants to marry their husband too. And this sounds like a good idea to her. It sounds like a good idea to her. After seeing them branded about the necks like that. This sounds like something that she's on board with. Because she just really wants to get married. And she actually goes with them. She goes with them. They take her to this rundown shack that looks like it's been condemned for decades. And they introduce her to their husband, this grown-ass man, this psychotic evil fuck who's like Duck Dynasty meets Charles Manson, who they have convinced her to marry. And they didn't even have to try that hard. She still wants to marry him after meeting him. Jesus Christ, I wanted to strangle this kid, I swear to God. So they get her dressed up, and they take her down to the basement where he's got this fucking death shrine, and he starts performing a satanic wedding ritual or whatever the fuck it was, and only now does this girl start thinking that maybe marrying this lunatic might not be the best idea she's ever had. What the fuck, man? This girl was so stupid. I almost wanted him to kill her. So when the good guys are trying to track her down before it's too late, to be honest, I really didn't care if they made it in time. Then we got Zed, who is having visions about Corrigan, who is going to die. For some reason, Zed does not know if she should do anything about this. Should I warn him? Should I do nothing? Should I try to save him? I don't even know if I'm supposed to save him. What? Zed. Explain to me what exactly you've been doing with Constantine every fucking week. Using your visions to help people who are going to die? That was the whole reason you decided to keep your visions in the last fucking episode, and now you don't know if you should use them for the same goddamn thing you've been using them for this whole time? What the hell is wrong with you? Who wrote this? What the fuck is going on here? So finally, she decides to tell him. Okay, fine. Thank you. She tells him that she had a vision that he is going to die. But she doesn't know where or how or when. Could be tomorrow, could be 60 years in the future. Which you could also say about everyone on the fucking planet. So basically, she knows absolutely nothing. You know, we all go sometimes, Zed. Everyone dies eventually. You're not really telling him anything he doesn't already know here. So I really struggled with what the point of that whole subplot was. Then we got Papa Midnight trying to kill John so he can collect a bounty that was put on John's head in between episodes, I guess. Maybe this happened earlier and I just didn't catch it, but I'm past caring at this point anyway. However, this did lead to the one genuinely cool moment of the episode. Midnight gets the jump on John, shoots him, kills him, then it turns out it's just a corpse under a glamour spell. John fakes him out and gets away. That was a great swerve, and really well done. It's just a shame that it didn't happen in a better episode. So they find the bad guy and kill him. They save the girl, and just like almost every week, they make some vague predictions that the rising darkness is behind this somehow, and it's getting stronger all the time. Ooh. But then nothing really happens with it. Corrigan is still alive, so if he was meant to become the Spectre eventually, we're not going to get to see that. But then, finally, the one thing this episode got right, they've revealed the identity of the person who John trusts that is going to betray him. It's not Zed, it's not Chaz, it's Manny. He's the one who put the Cult of Evil who behind the cult of evil warlocks they keep talking about. He's the one who put the bounty on John's head, which he's now rescinding for some reason. I'm not really sure why. This was surprising. They just made Manny more relatable and sympathetic in the last episode, and now they do this? I was pretty sure they were going this way about 5 minutes before it happened, but it was a really good twist. It's the first major development we've gotten in this whole Rising Darkness storyline since the show started, and it was a good one. It made the storyline more compelling because something big finally happened. And that's where the show ends. And this made me angry, because after 13 episodes of me being frustrated that the show was being so aimless and the narrative was constantly stalling, they finally did something to make the mythology arc interesting. And it happened too late to make a damn bit of difference. It was the last thing the show ever did, serving as a bittersweet reminder of how much better this show could have been, but wasn't. Shit. The Manny swerve and the fake out with the corpse were cool. The rest of this episode was a waste of time in my opinion. And as I look back on everything that's come before, you can say the same thing about most of this season. Very little happens to ever push the story forward. The standalone stories weren't compelling enough for you to overlook that, and as a result, you don't really care that much about what's going on. And because of that, Constantine is most likely not getting a second season. And that's too bad, because this show did have potential. It had a solid premise for a fantasy series, a good cast with a great lead in Matt Ryan, who was perfect as Constantine, nice-looking sets, beautiful cinematography, and a storyline that could have been really intriguing if they'd ever actually done anything with it, but they didn't. The first time the story seemed to actually be going somewhere was the last scene of the last episode. It was supposed to make us want more, but I just felt annoyed that it didn't happen a lot sooner. And that was Constantine. Gotham. Gotham. Episode 16, The Blind Fortune Teller. Gordon and Leslie go to a circus where a fight breaks out among the performers and a woman is found murdered. We meet Dick Grayson's future parents, possibly the future Joker, and it's not nearly as interesting as it sounds. Also, Fish Mooney did some stuff that made me want to bash my head against a wall. Plus, Barbara's back. Yay! There's still way too many side stories happening all at once. But at least, they tried to identify 3 main ones for us to focus on here. Ironically, the Gordon-Leslie relationship stuff, which felt completely tacked on last week, actually worked very well this time. Probably the strongest part of the episode, because it actually serves a purpose in the main story. A crime happens on their date, Leslie assists in the investigation, she has ideas that Gordon thinks are a waste of time, but it turns out that she has good instincts. So they work together to solve the crime and work out a few kinks in their relationship in the process. And one story kind of feeds off the other. That was a nicely executed balancing act. But then you've got the case of the week. Oh boy. A fight breaks out during the circus because there's this family feud among the performers that has been exacerbated by this snake dancer who slept with guys from both families and created a lot of jealousy. Then she ends up dead. Apparently, she was dead for a while. And the guy in charge of the circus knew about this and covered it up. Never told the cops that a murder had been committed because he wanted to handle the matter internally, Carney Justice style. That was a lot more powerful when they did it on Carnival. Just saying. This is all incredibly suspicious behavior of this guy. But for some reason, he's never really a suspect in the investigation. I don't know why. Because at the very least, by not reporting this murder, trying to conceal the murder, this man has committed a crime. It doesn't seem to occur to Gordon at that point for some reason. We spend more time questioning the Graysons and the Lloyds, learning all about this family feud that dates back to World War I. And it was started by a stolen horse of all things. Yeah, these families hate each other because someone stole a horse a century ago. Two of them, who I guess are Dick Grayson's future parents, have this sexually charged banter going on. They spend the whole episode arguing because he's a Grayson and she's a Lloyd, and if they were going for some kind of Capulets and Montagues thing here, it falls pretty short of that. So after spending so much time with these people, learning about this family feud, getting all this information that turned out to be completely unrelated to the crime, once the murder is solved, these two crazy kids stop arguing, get together, get engaged, and find out she's pregnant, apparently. And all of this happens off screen. What? The real killer is the woman's son, Jerome, who it's heavily implied is the future Joker. If so, that's an awfully big fucking coincidence that he'd be working at the same circus that Robin's family came from. Just saying. The actor was alright. I thought he was kind of wooden at first, but when he played up the Joker mannerisms, he was a lot better at that. No real complaints about him. But there's splitting screen time between him and this Grayson Lloyd nonsense, and that doesn't work for me. If this guy is the Joker, then let's have an episode focusing more on him. If you want to do Dick Grayson's parents, go ahead. Give us an episode where they can be the focus of the story, and the big moment where they get together and we find out that she's got the boy wonder in the oven doesn't happen off camera. Once again, the show tries to do way too much all at once, and the result is two really important things don't get the spotlight they should and end up feeling like a hollow fan service. Then we got the Penguin, who is usually the MVP of this show. Not so this week. One of the club patrons doesn't like his mom singing, so Penguin assaults him with a broken bottle, killing him or maiming him, it isn't really clear. Either way, there's a lot of blood. And he does this in the middle of a club full of witnesses. Oswald, you're supposed to be smarter than this. Even if you can buy that no one would report this crime because the city is corrupt and he's protected by Falcone, plenty of people still saw that. They saw him kill or maim this guy. They could use that information against him if they want. It just seems like a really stupid thing to do in public in front of people. If you want to kill him, do it behind closed doors, for Christ's sakes. And the club's business sucks, so apparently Victor Zsasz has Butch brainwashed or lobotomized or something, so Butch can help Penguin out running things now. Wow, I am really not sure how we got from point A to point B here. Butch has been reduced to a dancing monkey, essentially. This seemed pretty ridiculous, but on this show, I'm really not sure if it's too ridiculous or just ridiculous enough. Where they draw that line isn't totally concrete. But wherever that line happens to be, Fish Mooney is way the fuck over it right now. What the hell is going on with this? Somehow, Fish has taken over this prison camp thing. I have no clue why everyone is listening to her, and the show doesn't bother explaining it. but she's their leader now. Because she has some kind of crazy plan to get the prisoners out that involves some of them dying in the process. Miraculously, after Fish gives some unintentionally hilarious William Wallace-type rally cry speech, all the prisoners are on board with this, despite the plan being completely insane. And then they really insult our intelligence because the completely insane plan actually works. The pirates come for one specific prisoner who they need alive so they can take his eyeballs or his organs or whatever. And Fish tells the pirates that her family, because they're family now, will kill this guy unless they cough up some food, water, reading materials, stuff like that. And for some fucking reason, these pirates, who have guns, remember, don't even try to take the guy by force. They could very easily shoot to wound and not damage any of the valuable organs. They knew where he was right there. Did they really think that these prisoners would not scatter like rats if they shot off a few rounds? Suddenly these people are willing to die for Fish Mooney because Fish somehow inspired them like Gandhi? What a bunch of bullshit. So what we have here is yet another example of a character coming up with an incredibly stupid plan that is completely fucking nuts, that by all rights would never work in a million years, which then actually works, as if by magic, but only because the plot needs it to. I really need to come up with a name for this. And then, oh my fucking god, then Fish works out some kind of exchange where she gets to meet the boss while the head pirate guy has to stay with the prisoners. Unarmed. Yeah. Unarmed. Fish takes his weapon off him, and the other pirates just let her keep it. And then he actually stays down there with them. Why? These pirates have all the power here. All the power. How about you can go meet with the boss. You can do that. But we're keeping all our fucking weapons, and we're gonna leave some pirates down here to watch the prisoners. And if you try anything, or if even one of them fucking blinks, they get their kneecaps blown off. Why on earth do these mercenaries who have guns, who were dangerous enough to capture all these people in the first place, suddenly completely powerless and impotent against Fish Mooney? What is so goddamn special about Fish fucking Mooney? None of this makes any sense. There's contrived storytelling, there's contrived bullshit storytelling, and then there's this. The only way any of this crap makes sense is if Fish has some kind of hypnotism powers that allow her to do whatever this ill-conceived plot requires. God help me, this entire storyline is crap right now, and it seems like there's worse to come. Also, Barbara's back. She's back in her apartment now. She moved back in. Apparently, that weird-ass stuff with her parents was dealt with off-screen, so I guess we didn't need to address that at all. And are we actually supposed to sympathize with her wanting Gordon back after she left him, not once, but twice? Left him twice and cheated on him with her ex-girlfriend, only for him to end up in a much healthier relationship with a much more likable and compatible woman while she was gone? Yeah, that's not happening. I did actually think it was kind of funny, though, when she finds Selena and Ivy squatting in her place, and she's just like, fuck it, whatever. But now she's trying to get Gordon back, even though she thought he was with another woman when she called him and Ivy answered, which launched her into a screaming fit. Are we just forgetting about that? Fuck it, whatever. Then Bruce meets with the company's board of directors and talks about possible corruption in Wayne Enterprises. It didn't go anywhere this week, but at least it seems slightly more relevant than last week's riveting episode's riveting side story where he went for a hike and fell down a hill. The Gordon Leslie stuff was handled much better this week, and I like the actor playing the guy who may or may not become the Joker. The rest of this episode is better left forgotten. Gotham needs help. Creatively, this show is unraveling. And I'm almost at a point where I really don't care if it improves or not. And that's all that I've got to say about that. Got a Twitter question about Gotham. It's a response to something I tweeted. I said, Barbara walks in on Gordon and Leslie making out in the men's locker room again. Sorry, sweetie, but Jim traded up. You can go now. And at Pedro Lunion says, hell yeah, he traded up. Leslie is hotter and less neurotic. And that's what makes this such a problem. We need to be rooting, at least in some small way, for Barbara and Gordon to get back together and work things out. Because, like her or not, she is the future mother of Batgirl, so he's got to knock her up at some point. But we don't. Barbara's terrible. She's a horrible character. I don't think she's an incredible actress. Marina Baccarin is just far more likable in every sense. In every way. She's a better actress. She's a better character. She has more chemistry with Gordon. There's no reason to root against Gordon and Leslie. None. I think it's pretty much unanimous that we all want him to stay with Leslie and ditch Barbara altogether. And that's a problem. Because we know, ultimately, unless they really fucking deviate from the comics, that Gordon and Leslie Gordon and Barbara, are the end game in this whole relationship storyline. And quite frankly, that fills me with dread. Excuse me. That gaming asshole. This episode of Gotham was so fucking insane. I literally have no idea how to summarize it. It was like watching an MLG video parody of Batman. I half expected to see Snoop Dogg telling me to smoke weed every day. Yeah, I wish there had been a Snoop Dogg cameo. That would have made this episode better, goddammit. This is the kind of madness people write when they're drunk, or giving no shits. I've been waiting all week for FK's reaction. I half wanted to send you an email during the episode just to ask if you were seeing what I was seeing, since I wasn't sure I was dreaming it or not. At least the series finale of Constantine didn't suck. Well, I beg to differ, actually. It was a coherent plot, if a boring one. C'est la vie. I will agree with that. It was coherent. Just wasn't very good. But yeah, Gotham, man, what the fuck were they thinking with this one? I don't even know. That gaming asshole. I had one issue with Constantine, though. Manny, I'm the rising darkness. Me. LOL, what? See, I liked it just because it was surprising. And just because something finally happened, be it good or bad. Because at that point, any kind of change would be better than no change at all. It was just, it happened too late. I didn't really care at that point. Jacob Walton. Yeah, Gotham is becoming a mess for me, but I will give them the Joker's subplot was actually well done. I can totally believe that Jerome could be the Joker. Everything else, good grief. Yeah, I like the actor. When he was playing up the shy, reserved guy, wasn't really feeling it. But when he turned on the Joker stuff, that was good. I liked his performance in that scene. Everything else, yeah, that's just... Kingsman Secret Service. Yeah, we can talk about Kingsman later. Yeah. NJ Brady, your reactions to the underage girl marrying the loony was priceless. Thank you. I loved it, but it was so sad to hear how bad it was. Yeah. It was pretty bad. That gaming asshole. In the A-plot, Jim and Leslie meet the Joker and his father, a psychic, who live at a circus with the Flying Graysons, and the Joker's start of darkness lies in the fact that his mom is a snake charmer. There are no words. 3 out of 10. Fuck you, Gotham. In the B-plot, Fish is leading a band of ragtag rebels against, I don't know, the Cylons, I guess. In, let's say, Caprica. Sure. Also, apparently, the prison in there serves as a base for Cobra, who are harvesting organs, and Fish convinces one of her people to become an organ martyr. Whatevs. -5 stars out of 10. This post gets 5 stars. Finally, in the C-plot, Rarity and Rainbow Dash help Twilight get ready for the grand galloping. Oh, wait. No, I meant Catwoman and Poison Ivy help Batgirl's mom slut up for Jim. Oh, no, wait. I meant the writers smeared raw human shit across paper and passed it off as a script. Yeah, 2 out of 10, and only because Cat is cute. Oh, and Butch is a zombie. Well, I'd say Butch is more like a meat puppet. Awesome post, dude. That's great. But yeah, Gotham, man, what? Good Christ. You know, Charlie from Emergency Awesome called this the best episode of the season. Charlie, I like your videos a lot, man, but no, just no. So, enough of that. Let's talk about a good episode. Agent Carter. Excuse me. Episode 7, Snafu. The SSR guys interrogate Peggy while the evil Russian psychiatrist makes off with one of Stark's inventions. Leviathan shows that they've been one step ahead of the good guys this whole time, and Dottie continues to be one of the most fucking amazing villains on television right now, period. She was so awesome, in fact, that I almost forgave the episode for not having Angie in it. Almost. God damn, man, these last few episodes of Agent Carter have just been getting better and better and better. They had a bit of a lull after the premiere, but they're moving like a freight train now, heading into the finale next week. Something that worked really well in the episode's favor, and something I wish Gotham would take a lesson from, was having a very focused story. The whole episode is about Peggy getting interrogated, which serves as a distraction so the evil Russian psychiatrist that we now know to be Dr. Faustus from the comics can make off with the Stark tech, with a little help from Dottie, the human spider monkey. They're not diverting the viewer's attention with half a dozen side stories going on all at once. They identify what's really important, and they focus on just that. And the result was a great deal of payoff. Peggy finally comes clean to the SSR guys about what she's been up to. It's immensely satisfying to see her finally call them on all their sexism, basically saying, look, I had to conduct my own investigation, and I got away with it because I'm invisible to you people unless I'm carrying your coffee or bringing you lunch. And they all finally see her not as a woman, not as a sexism trope or whatever, but as an agent who's had a lot more on the ball than they ever realized. So ironically, Peggy finally gets the respect that she always wanted from them, but it only comes when she's in handcuffs. Ain't that always the way? Also, about Peggy. This episode gave us some character beats that have been noticeably absent from the last few episodes. I've been noticing this, and I know someone else in the comments who have been noticing it too. But Peggy is finally shown to have flaws. We see her being imperfect and fallible because the issue of Captain America's blood sample comes up. And when she found out that Stark lied to her, she didn't give it back to Stark. She didn't take it back to SSR either. She just held on to it, thinking with her heart instead of her brain. And we see that while Peggy may be a ridiculously good agent, almost to the point of absurdity, she has a big blind spot when it comes to Steve Rogers. She tends to get kind of irrational when he's brought up. And I like that character trait a lot. You know, Peggy can be a badass. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, you have to give her some human failings to make her three-dimensional. Otherwise, you start dipping into Mary Sue territory, which this show has been guilty of a little bit. So this was something that her character really needed. And I was really grateful that this happened. Also in that vein, we get some nice humanizing moments for the men as well. Chief Dooley, most of all. And damn this show for making me feel so bad for the guy right before he got killed. They flesh him out with wanting to patch things up with his wife, and they make him all sympathetic and stuff. And he gets that moment with her, but it's all in his head, which is really sad. And him finally giving Peggy that nod of respect before sacrificing himself to save everyone in the office, that was a really great scene. And it's a testament to the quality of the writing here that they were able to make Dooley so sympathetic in a pretty short amount of time after he'd been kind of a jerk for most of the season. Thompson and Sousa finally find some common ground, which is really nice to see. They're still Thompson and Sousa. They're not BFFs or anything, but they're working together. And I love that moment that Sousa got where he found Dottie in the hallway. I thought he was a fucking dead man. But he actually fights her off with one leg. I mean, yeah, she got the better of him, but he survived. And that's a Black Widow he was tangling with there. I mean, give the guy some credit. He's really handy with that fucking crutch. So Dottie gets forced into the stairwell. She's boxed in. They got her surrounded. And this leads to, hands down, the coolest fucking stunt I have seen on TV all season. Dottie jumps over the railing and parkours down the spiral staircase like a giant bouncy ball. Jessica Drew would have tipped her hat to that one. Holy shit. And then there's this awesome moment when she hits the ground, and there's this agent right in front of her with a gun. His mouth is just hanging open. He can't fucking believe what he's just seen. And she gives him this look. This perfect look, like, go ahead, shoot me. I'll spit the bullet back in your fucking face and walk away laughing. I got chills during this sequence. My God, Dottie is an incredible villain. Huge props to Bridget Regan. She has to rank among the biggest breakout characters of this season because everything she does as Dottie has been fucking mesmerizing. And finally, it was really nice how they were able to tie all the different story threads about Howard Stark together here. That mysterious event that left all those people dead, Howard backing out of the military contract mysteriously, etc. Now we pretty much know why. He made a weapon. He was horrified when he saw the results. He refused to make more, backed out of his own military contract, and that's the weapon that Leviathan has been after. That's the weapon they have now, the weapon that looks like they're going to be unleashing on New York City in the finale. I thought the way they were able to take all this stuff that SSR had learned about Howard over the season from various different sources, have it all come to a head here was really well handled. And I cannot wait for him to be back next week. This show needs a lot more Dominic Cooper, a lot more. And I love that the weapon was basically a rage virus. So all that shit that went down in 28 Days Later, because of Howard Stark. Looks like Tony had the right idea getting out of the weapons business, huh? I know I said this last week too, but I think this was the best episode yet. Absolutely. The stakes have been raised, all the pieces are in place, and the stage has been set for a really tense and explosive finale next week. And I will be very disappointed if we don't get a season 2 now, because I really want one. Excuse me. Okay. Come on, Google Plus. Help me out here. All right. Okay, nothing for Agent Carter. We still got some Gotham questions. So we'll get to those afterward. All right. Okay. So we can just move on to Flash. If you guys want to do that. Yeah. All right. If you have any Agent Carter questions, put them down there. I'll get to everything. That brings us to Flash. Episode excuse me. Episode 14, Fallout. It turns out that despite the nuke going off, the plan last week worked, and Ronnie and Professor Stein have been separated. But General Eiling is after them now, so their reunions are short-lived. Iris starts to catch on that there's some sneaky business going on at Star Labs, and Wells finally comes out as the Reverse Flash to Eiling, only to feed him to Grodd. Yikes. Not your typical episode of The Flash. You might as well just call this one spin-off bait. You know, the CW is having so much success with these superhero shows right now that they might be thinking about a Firestorm spin-off as well as the Atom spin-off they're talking about. That's what it felt like they were setting up here. And I thought they did a pretty nice job with it. And we get a better sense of who Ronnie and Professor Stein are. Victor Garber makes more of an impression, not shockingly. Robbie ML was Robbie ML. But they establish everything. They explain how the Firestorm Matrix works and how these men are tied together now, whether they like it or not. And it's a solid premise, all things considered. Loved seeing General Eiling back. Clancy Brown is always great. And it was so awesome. I love this. It was so awesome that he actually took Barry to task for his stupidity in the Plastique episode. When Barry unmasked himself to her. For no reason, mind you, Eiling saw Barry's face and found out who he was. You see, Barry, this is why you don't take off your fucking mask when you're in the field. Dumbass. Now, why Eiling kept that information to himself this whole time was head-scratching. But I like that he did take the time to come up with some anti-Flash weapons. That's smart. That's being prepared. And this show needs more villains that use their heads like that. So I was really liking Eiling as the bad guy here. And I was very disappointed, actually, when they killed him off. Even though that death was pretty cool. I gotta admit, I was very skeptical about Grodd. And there's still plenty of time for them to fumble the ball on this. But so far, they're building up Grodd very well. He comes off legitimately scary and threatening, and that's from a concept in the comics that is really fucking goofy. So, well done on that. Barry's relationship drama takes the week off here, and I think the episode is better for it. We've got Iris starting to look into Star Labs after the guy she works with got her thinking that there may be some shady stuff going on in that place. They don't really explain why he suddenly thought so, just... Hey, remember when Wells admitted that the warnings he got about the particle accelerator? I think he could have had an ulterior motive. Because. But it does get Iris moving in a direction that's bound to be more interesting than what she was doing before, so I'll forgive that. Also, I like how they handled Barry taking the news that he already tried to save his mother from the Reverse Flash in the past and failed. But I'm of two minds about how him vowing to do it again and save her this time. It makes sense that he'd want to do that, but what happened happened. When you talk about changing the past, then you're getting into temporal paradoxes and ripple effects and altering the timeline in all sorts of ways you can't predict. I mean, didn't Barry see Back to the Future? He could end up doing more harm than good by saving his mother, and I wanted someone to point that out. Maybe they will later. I hope so, because I really think there needs to be a scene where they acknowledge where they acknowledge how easily changing the past could blow up in Barry's face. That's it to be continued. If I have one gripe with the episode, it's that the cliffhanger last week was a nuke. A fucking nuke going off right outside the city. and they don't make nearly as big a deal out of that as they should. Yeah, I know this isn't 24. The nuke isn't what the episode was really about, but that's a really big event to just brush under the rug. This would be gigantic international news. And nobody, including the people who are not in the loop on Team Flash, think this is worth getting concerned about. I mean, Joe is pretty cavalier about it. He's like, hey, so does this have anything to do with the mushroom cloud, the giant crater right outside the city? Can't get a little more excited or concerned about it than that, Joe? Even Iris, the journalist who works for this big media outlet, newspaper, whatever the fuck, seems oddly nonplussed about the whole thing. Did Iris even mention the fucking mushroom cloud right outside the city? Did anyone at the news place she works at? You're telling me that no one is investigating this at all? That I really don't buy. But that aside, everything else the episode gets right. We had our first bona fide Flash Firestorm team up, and they didn't drop the ball with it. Grodd is being built up better than I ever could have hoped. And it looks like Wells may get outed as the Reverse Flash a lot sooner than I expected. And, you know, well done on keeping me on my toes with that. So, another really good episode of The Flash here. I like this one a lot. And Twitter questions for The Flash. Well, one Twitter question. Matt Pedrolunian. It was obvious that Wells would kill Eiling. He doesn't like being threatened or bullied. Yeah, maybe. You got to kind of figure when he was forced to give over, to hand over Professor Stein, that he would retaliate somehow. I was really hoping they'd keep Eiling alive because, like I said, the show needs more intelligent villains. And he made for a really good one. But if he had to go, that was a really good way to go. That was a really cool scene. I actually really do like how they're building up Grodd. I did not expect I would, but that's being well done so far. Okay. Come on. Gotham. TKO Rising. Do you ever think that Harrison Wells and Gorilla Grodd will ever team up on the Flash season finale? Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Might happen sooner than the finale. I mean, obviously they're connected somehow. Yeah, we saw the cage, the Grodd cage, at Star Labs. I think it was in the pilot. I think it was in the premiere. So, well, I mean, Wells knows Grodd. So they have some kind of relationship. I think it could happen a lot sooner than the finale. Might happen in the next few episodes, actually. That gaming asshole. I'm still questioning if Wells is Zoom, or at the very least, if he's the only Zoom. My best guess is that there are two of them. Two Reverse Flashes, and one of them is Wells and the other is Thawne. Wells, I assume, is not evil. Maybe he killed Eiling because he believed it was the right thing, while Thawne is. Well, in the first episode that focused on the Reverse Flash, there was a scene where the Reverse Flash and Wells were in the same scene. So you got to figure there's at least two of them. Or if not, then he's got a way to split himself and be in two places at once, or maybe he's the present version and the Reverse Flash is the future version of the same guy. I don't know. It's time travel. It could be all sorts of weird, kooky shit. But I think, yeah, I think there's got to be more than one. I agree with that. That gaming asshole. Oh, come on, FK. No one even notices a nuke going off anymore. Two super soldiers fought a speed god in the middle of the city. Nukes are last week, brah. Level the fuck up. You're right. I'm an idiot. A nuclear explosion going off outside the city limits, that's nothing. 24 blew up Los Angeles. A nuke going off outside the city, that's kid stuff. What was I thinking? Okay. Arrow. Season 3, Episode 14, The Return. Oliver returns to Starling City in the flashbacks and returns to Lian Yu in the present. Malcolm Merlyn gave him the idea to train there with Thea, but while there, Slade Wilson breaks out and starts some shit because, big surprise, Malcolm Merlyn is not entirely trustworthy. For the record, my cable was being kind of spotty during this episode, so if I missed a few details, bear with me. This had to be one of the best episodes of the entire show in terms of incorporating the flashbacks and organically tying them into the present-day stuff. In fact, this was kind of ingenious. Kind of an ingenious setup for an episode. Oliver returns to the place where the flashbacks used to be. Meanwhile, in the flashbacks, he's returning to the place where he always is in the present. There's something wonderfully meta about that. I thought that was really creative. And in addition to that, to the really clever story structure going on here, I guess we have to talk about all the callbacks to the first season. Oh my God, there were a lot of these. Tommy and Laurel, Thea's drug problem, Felicity in the IT department, Quentin being a dick. They even threw in a bunch of really cool Easter eggs. Like, I love how they put Diggs' brother in there. That was really nice. There were so many of these things all over the episode, and almost all of them worked. But with all these things happening all at the same time in the flashbacks, it did almost border on contrivance once or twice. It did start to get a little bit ridiculous when they went so far as to throw in a reference to the grease paint mask. At that point, I was like, guys, you're trying too hard. But overall, it was really well done. I do wish we could have had a scene with Moira and Walter, but the episode was pretty packed as it is. I won't hold that against it. The one thing I wasn't sure about was the video message from his dad that Oliver finds. Now, they actually set this up, I think, in the first season. Oliver mentions that he found a message explaining the list. So I was really happy that they tied that up. So the message tells him about the book with the names on it, why it's important, which Oliver did not know until then. But it doesn't tell him where the book is, what the book looks like, how to find the book, or how to make the names visible when he does. The whole thing is so rushed. All it was, Oliver, I have a book with a list of names of people in it who have done very bad things. Right my wrongs. Save our city. If I'm Oliver and I'm hearing about this book for the first time, I'm going to need more information than that. Because that really doesn't tell him anything. And sure, Oliver already had the book, but his dad wouldn't have known that when he recorded the message. You know, the stuff on the island was all really good. It's very freeing to have Oliver and Thea finally being open and honest with each other about everything. It was great seeing Slade back. Really great. He was a big part of what made season 2 so good. So there's another very welcome callback there. It did seem like they defeated him a lot more easily than they should have. That was a little questionable, but you gotta figure he's been in jail for a while. He'd been locked up. You know, his fighting skills may not be in top form right now. Still, I mean, yeah, he doesn't have the Mirakuru in him anymore, but this is still the guy who trained Oliver. You'd think he'd be a little harder to take down than this, but it did do its job in showing how much Thea has been leveling up, but you did have to take it with a grain of salt. And I did like her and Oliver fighting together. That was pretty cool to see. However, there were some things I had to tilt my head at a little bit here. Oliver thinks that Malcolm Merlyn is the only one who can teach him how to defeat Ra's al Ghul. Okay. He wants Merlyn to train him. All right. So the first thing Oliver does is take Thea to Lian Yu to train by themselves without Merlyn. I failed to see how this helps him. Is this really the best use of your time, Oliver? Really? Then it turns out that Merlin was the one who released Slade Wilson. Slade Wilson, who could easily have killed Oliver, who Merlin needs alive, and Thea, who Merlin claims to love. When just a couple episodes ago, Merlin decided to not kill the man who murdered his wife just so Thea would not see him as a killer. Yet, the way the writers are treating Merlin's relationship with Thea is kind of inconsistent. He seems to oscillate between genuinely caring about her and shamelessly manipulating her in ways that directly contradict that. It seems like that relationship is coming to an end now that she knows how he used her to kill Sarah, and that's probably for the best, I think. Also, one more nitpick. The way Oliver and Thea got out of their cell. Oliver just dislocates Thea's shoulder so she can reach around the wall and push the button. I know the Argus prison was not designed for someone like her in mind, but good lord, I mean, putting the cell door release close enough where anyone, male or female, could conceivably reach within 10 feet of it, that's a pretty fucking big design flaw. If they can't make the facility more secure than that, I'm surprised Argus hasn't had more breakouts. Also, what exactly was Slade's plan when he locked them up? He said he was just going to leave them there to rot, but it's an Argus prison. You're going to have Argus people coming in there periodically. Yeah, he killed the guard, but the guard wasn't living there. The guard was going to get relieved at some point by new personnel. When the new personnel showed up, they'd find Oliver and Thea there and let them out. So, what was Slade's plan there? I don't know. But in the grand scheme of things, these were small details, and they really didn't detract from the episode that much. Overall, I thought this was an excellent episode of Arrow, one of the best of the season. Just conceptually, the story was really, really clever, and they executed it very well. Damn good installment of Arrow here. I love this one. Okay, Twitter questions from Pedro Lunian. It seems Oliver's flashbacks are ending. How do you figure? Why would the flashbacks be over? They still have 2.5 years worth of material to get through. You're going to have to explain that one to me, man. I don't think the flashbacks are coming to an end anytime soon. I figure at the very least there's going to be 5 seasons worth of flashbacks. So I think we're about halfway done. And at Pedro Lunian, ha ha ha, Merlin really screwed himself. All this to make Thea a killer and hate Oliver, and it backfired. Yeah. It's, again, I'm not really, the way they handled Merlin is confusing to me. Because he has a lot of contradictory behavior here. One minute he's trying to ingratiate himself to Thea to make Thea love him, presumably. Then he does stuff that could... How he thought stuff like this was going to work out in his favor is beyond me. You had to figure an experience like this would drive Oliver and Thea closer together. Or it could have ended up getting Thea killed quite easily. And this is Thea, who Merlin claims to love like a daughter. A lot of the stuff he does makes no sense. Okay. Wow, really letting the questions this week. Got the... Really? No questions for Arrow? That's surprising. Okay. Well, we can move on to... Well, hold on. All right, that gaming asshole. The last thing I'll say about Gotham is I was scared for a moment that when she met Catwoman and Ivy, she would think they were the sexy babes Jim was stepping out on her with, because God knows she can't tell adults from prepubescent girls, so she may as well get in a catfight with them. Catfight, I got my own joke. Well, that would have made for an entertaining scene, wouldn't it? Might have made the episode better, actually. Maybe we can get to a point with Barbara where she becomes unintentionally funny instead of just a chore to watch. They did something like that. That might help in a weird way. Okay. There we go. That gaming asshole. They don't know what to do with Merlin. In the comics, he's just a mercenary who works for the League. He's a hired gun at best, and leader of his own mercenary soldiers at the peak of his power. He's no mastermind. They're making it up as they go. Yeah, I'm starting to get that impression. You know, and when Oliver returned to Starling City and he stopped Merlin from killing Danny Brickwell, I thought for a minute that maybe they'd try to redeem Merlin somehow. And then he does stuff like this. It's like, well, make up your minds. Which way is he going? Maybe the point is to keep him, you know, in a gray area where you're not sure which way he's going to go, but you still have to have him following some sort of path. And he's just, right now, he's just going back and forth between good guy and bad guy. One minute he'll do something sort of sympathetic, like letting Brickwell live, showing that he does care what Thea thinks of him. And then he puts Thea in a situation where she could quite easily get killed. It doesn't make sense. It's like they've got several different ideas about what Merlin should be, what kind of character he should be, and they need to decide on just one. It doesn't seem like they can do that yet. All right. All right. Okay. Duke Nukem 3DO. You want to talk about the Kingsman Secret Service movie? Sure, I can talk about that. I saw it last weekend. Yeah. I never read the comic it was based on, but I really like Matthew Vaughn's movies. I don't think he's made a bad movie yet. So I'll see anything Matthew Vaughn directs. And this was really effing good. Just as an action movie, some of the best action sequences I've seen in a long time. A couple of them featuring Colin Firth, of all people. Yeah, he managed to turn Colin Firth into a badass. As hard as that is to believe, he pulled it off. Just a really clever like tribute to all like the classic British spy movies. It's a lot like like Hot Fuzz, in the sense that it clearly loves all the stuff it's kind of playing with. It loves all the movies that they're kind of making fun of a little bit, and it's just a really fucking fun movie. I really can't say enough about the action sequences. They're so fucking good. But yeah, I really like the cast. Samuel L. Jackson is the bad guy. He has a lisp, which they actually get to make sense. I was wondering, why is he talking with a lisp? But it actually makes sense in the context. There's this the lead. The lead is a complete unknown to me. A bunch of the major characters are complete unknowns, but they're all really good. He found some really impressive new talent here. Wish you'd asked me about this sooner. I would have come up with some better thoughts. It's just a really damn good movie. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Goddamn. Kind of drawing a blank all of a sudden. But if you guys watch Cinema Snobs videos, they did a review of that where they get in the car after the movie and they just turn the camera on and they talk about it. They did a review of that. Just go watch that video. They sum up my thoughts better than I can right now. But yeah, if you love James Bond, if you love any of those the classic British spy movies or anything, you'll dig the hell out of Kingsman Secret Service. I enjoyed that movie very much. So go give it some money, please. It's doing pretty well, but it's a distant second to 50 Shades of Grey, and that hurts. So go see the movie, Kingsman Secret Service. Go give it some money, please. Wow. Apparently that's all the questions we have here. You guys are pretty shy this week. So, all right, you know what? I'll just check Twitter real fast. See if we got anything else here. Oh, don't you freeze up, you bastard. No. Okay. Well, if we got nothing else, I think we can wrap it up. Looks like most people tuned in just to bitch about Gotham this week. Which I understand. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. Gotham, god damn it. Anywho, I guess we're all done for the night. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Maybe we can go a little longer next time. Until then, next Thursday, same time, same place. Be seeing you.